If you are an early stage founder, or if you intend to be, there's one thing you need to know. You will be misunderstood and ignored a lot. Creating a startup is hard and often very lonely. And that's why I decided to invite brave entrepreneurs to share their amazing journeys with us every Saturday here on my YouTube channel. My name is Rodrigo Tomaz. This is the Startup School Jam, and my guest today is Maxim Sicora and his startup CycoPay. Welcome, Max. Thanks for joining me.
Hello, thank you for inviting
Sure.
me.
It's a pleasure having you, and I'm excited to hear your story and your, journey with CycoPay. So let's start with a quick introduction about yourself, um, your background, where you are located right now, where you are from. But let's not talk about CycoPay. We'll do that in a few seconds. Does that work?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. The stage is
So,
yours.
so my name is Max, as you probably know. I'm 16 years old. I'm from Moldova. I'm in high school right now. So I've built businesses before, never actual companies. This is sort of my first time. I'm building a company. Hopefully, it's gonna work. So I've built some businesses, some software companies, some software businesses, you could call them, not yet companies. They worked out, but they weren't really planned for the long term. They were pretty short-term projects with my sort of co-founders. Um, so they worked and they got closed them, and that's pretty much it. So far, it's been quite a journey. I'm a bit technical. I can read through code. I can understand code. I can code a bit, but can't really start a project from my own. So sometimes I need to outsource or find a technical sort of co-founder. Um, yeah.
All right. Well, that's quite a journey. 16 years old with, with companies built in the future. I mean, not companies, but projects and things. That's what I understood. Is that correct? That you built and
Yeah.
some kind of didn't work properly, but you have a lot of experience to share, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so there were three of them. One was a cheat sort of selling thing.
Hmm.
Basically, I started with someone, with my friend from school, middle school. So we built sort of a cheat website.
Hmm.
We're hiring developers who were coding cheats for video
Uh,
games, PC
uh,
games, allegedly, and we're selling them and stuff. It worked pretty well actually. Surprisingly, it was like I think it was above minimum age wage
uh-huh,
here in Moldova.
uh-huh,
So it was it went pretty well for a year. Then closed it. The second one was proxy business. I was renting proxies and web hosting and
uh.
all of that. The other one was something tied to domains, so reselling domains, and that was sort of it. And
Oh,
yeah,
well, so I have a question before we go to CyclePay. Um, how old did you start like coding and understanding, the universe, tech universe?
tech. Well, I was playing a lot of games when I was
Mm-hmm.
younger. Um, I was playing and I wasn't very good, so I started cheating. Then there was my cheat business.
Mm-hmm.
Then I left it and I just started doing, I would say, more serious things that weren't planned for the long
Mm-hmm.
term. Um, and I believe that sort of my journey to businesses to everything was starting out of free time, too much free time, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was about 13 or something like
Uh,
that. Yeah.
13. Oh, wow. Yeah, well, it's good because when I was 13 on my free time, I would be on the street doing nothing useful. I I guarantee you. I mean, so it's great. Um, all right. So let's do it. I want to do a pitch about CycoPay, and you will tell me if I'm right or wrong, and then we'll hear your own explanation about CycoPay. Is that okay?
Sure.
So here's what I understood about CycoPay. I went through your website, some documentations you have. By the way, beautiful website, very well designed. Documentation is very good. Um, so you are targeting online business that you can you put your service in front in between the online building the online business and the companies that manage credit cards and payments specifically. So you collect the data about the transaction, and you provide to your customer, the online business, uh, information, or like you organize the information about the sales, so they don't need to care about like taxes or other bureaucratic stuff. Um, so it's a very niche business, if I understand it correctly. So I mean, it's when I say niche, it's not that it's only intended for one kind of business, but it's intended for a business that's online, and also for like a very specific financial kind of services. So I'll tell you, I did need to study a little more than I did from my previous guests, because their startups were more something more easier to understand, but yours was, because it does take a little bit of technical knowledge to understand about the language, the financial environment. So am I completely wrong? Did I get something correct?
Let's just put it this way. Maybe I should work more on the description of it. Um, so CycoPay, well, it's a platform. It's basically a stack of services, card processing plus tax remittance. Basically, if you're a startup, online business, e-commerce, so tied to software, um, let's say e-commerce business for some sort of
So,
thing. You're selling 10 pieces of pants to, let's say, California. After a certain threshold, you have to pay sales tax on that. That takes time, accounting, people. So basically, we take that burden off from you. Basically, we do tax remittance on behalf of you. You do nothing. So, for example, without us, you'd have like hundreds of invoices to pay and to keep track of. With us, we'll have a single one
mhm.
at the end of the month. That's a basic reverse invoice. So basically, you integrate CycoPay to your website, do accept payments there, and it's easy as that. We take care of tax,
uh
and that's
All
pretty much
right.
it.
So there is a service here in the US called TurboTax. I may be still getting this wrong. And they have a mobile app called Money, Money app, where
Money.
a small business, um, like entrepreneurs, or solo entrepreneurs, they can use this app. So every transaction they do, like to buy or sell things, this app manages it. So it makes it easy at the beginning of next year when you need to do the tax report. So you just pretty much load what is on this app into TurboTax, and that makes it more convenient, let's say.
Mhm.
Um, is there something similar? Um, are you like in the same kind of business, or again, I completely misunderstood it?
Well, let's say you're Stripe. You don't have to use. Okay, let's say you're I don't know, selling software,
Uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh,
You use Stripe to accept
yeah,
payments.
uh-huh,
Well, instead of using Stripe, you can use us, and we do tax as well. And it's like completely instant. Everything is instantly. You don't have to wait for weeks to get on board and stuff like that.
uh-huh. All
Yeah.
right.
So it just
Well, let's learn more. Let's move forward here. You Let me see. You mentioned Stripe, and so Stripe is not your competitor. Stripe is actually a service that is in between you and your customer, and I believe Block would be, or a Square would be in the same position. Is that? correct or not?
Well, you see, well, we have an infrastructure, right?
Mm-hmm.
This infrastructure is based on a payment processor. It can be Stripe or something
Uh-huh.
else. However, Stripe is like based on just payments. Of course, they have other products
Mm-hmm.
like financial services, Stripe Terminal, Stripe Issuing, which is issuing cards, pretty nice. But they offer just tax, just that. And they offer us also tax calculation, but we actually just remit the tax on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to do like accounting or multiple things, and that's just one single invoice, and that's it. It's as simple as
Oh
that.
wow. And I'm actually impressed because I would expect to have a conversation like this with someone like my age, 30 years old. I'm actually almost 40. But you are 16 and apparently you understand this kind of business. I have one simple question and I want to understand something like further now. Is CycoPay a fintech? Is it considered to be a fintech?
Well, it depends how you define
Uh-huh.
fintech, right? Well, it's
Uh-huh.
payments, card payments, it's tax, and we're trying to implement like card issuing soon. So I suppose so. You could call it a
All
fintech
right.
thing.
All right. And why, in your age, how did you come across this problem? How and why did you start working on this? I mean, I'm just actually a little impressed. I don't know, our backgrounds are certainly completely different. I'm from South America. The reality there is completely different. On 16 years old, I was already working full time actually, but in a family business. I was working on a pet shop and things like that, doing cleaning, and so I never thought about, could never back like my 15 or 16 years old think about something like a fintech or anything like that. Can you explain why and how did you get to this point?
Yeah, well, I could say that on the previous businesses that we had, so it was me and my co-founder presently, um, we couldn't find an instrument to accept payments online. It was pretty hard. Um, One was because of age. However, we made it for someone else who sort of got the merchant account from processor. But we couldn't really process card payments easily. We had to do Bitcoin. For example, we were using processors that were shutting us down for various reasons. One would be high disputes or something like that. However, I believe there was sort of a false positive in their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, okay, this is a case. For example, we had about 400 payments, almost 500. Like one dispute, we got shut
Hmm.
down. Um, so it would be like that for I don't know some time, and we couldn't really find an alternative to payment
Mm-hmm.
processing. Something that it would onboard you instantly, never kick you out, or at least let you prove yourself before they kick you
Mm-hmm.
out. And yeah.
Interesting. So that was a problem you had personally and needed to solve. That's how you got to this business. And did you need to study to kind of, or that's something you were already interested in, you understood pretty well, or you started from scratch?
Um, well, from getting shut down by
Mm-hmm.
processors, you're starting to learn
Mm-hmm.
why, how. You get some idea of how the infrastructure
Mm-hmm.
works. Uh, you learn a bit, but in time, I believe it can be done.
All right. Uh, and what is the current stage? Where are you at? So if I understand correctly, you already have customers. You are a business already. It's not just an idea or something you are building, right?
Yep. Well, it's launched. From idea to launch took about 3 months to build, 3 months and a half. Bunch of iterations, listen to customers, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
talking to them. asking them about their discomforts, problems, stuff like that. That led to iterations, and eventually got it built. And about mid-April, I would say, was about finished. We shut it down, launched
Mm.
again. There were some problems, and yeah, we got some customers now. So we're trying to get more traction, and seems to be working so far.
Yeah, and are the customers happy with the results so far?
Yeah, sure. They have some suggestions. They may, yeah, they may give suggestions. We're trying to iterate based on their suggestions, and seems to work
And
for now.
your customers, if I understand again well by researching on your information online, you are targeting small businesses at this point, right? You're not targeting big business. Is that like a
Yeah.
target right now just because you are also starting, or that's something you are planning on the long run?
Now, small businesses is something temporary.
Mm-hmm.
We started reaching out to them actually. That were Stripe users actually. They were getting shut down by
Mm-hmm.
Stripe,
All right.
so we reached out to them, asked about their discomforts with Stripe. They told us about them, and we said, "Hey, you want to try our beta? Sure." So they onboarded and started processing payments.
Excellent. If you don't mind me asking, how did you come across those potential users? What are now your customers?
Well, it was for different channels.
Mm.
Basically, it was websites like where people were complaining. So Quora, Reddit, even the Stripe Discord server, like the actual Stripe
Mm.
developers, like people who were complaining there. Hey, we're getting shot by Stripe. We don't know what to do. So we said, hey, it's us, and want to join? Sure, why not?
Excellent. You just mentioned Discord, right?
Yeah.
Um, would you mind? I wonder. I believe like Discord is very well known right now. Like a lot of people know about it. Would you mind? I have personally never used it. I know it exists. I kind of understand the structure. Would you mind explaining a little bit about Discord? Why do you like it? How it works for you? If you use it or not? Can you?
Yeah, well, I was using it like within my previous
Mm-hmm.
businesses. Were pretty, I would say, for younger people. I would say. So basically, Discord is Slack for
Mm.
gamers. You could call it so messaging for gamers, an alternative to Slack for
Mm-hmm.
gamers. Is that a good explanation,
Yeah, I think so.
or should I go more?
Uh, yeah, I believe like Slack right now is probably more people are more familiar with Slack than Discord. So saying that it's Slack for gamers, I think it's a good description. Yeah. Well, let's talk about CycoPay. That's what matters. I just kind of heard the name and I thought it would be interesting to just to to explain. Maybe people don't quite understand what it is. Uh, CycoPay, what the name means.
There's no explanation.
Uh,
It just popped out into my head.
just
Psycho.
sounds
Um,
good.
Well, I asked my co-founder, "Hey, what do you think about this?" He said, "Don't you think it sounds like Psycho?" He said, "Yeah, but it's memorable, so why not?" So we just picked
All
it.
right, good. That sounds good. Um, and you explained um, you are a tech guy, so you do coding. Um, how well? Let's talk about the structure. I think you mentioned you have a partner, right? On CycoPay.
Yeah,
So how many people you are? Only two?
yeah, the people.
And can you explain a little bit the process of building it? Like you are coding it, the other guy is coding. What is his name? What does he do? What you do and he does, or he or she? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it's a
Uh-huh.
he. We met in high
Mm-hmm.
school. His name is Vlad.
All right.
So he's not coding. He's not very techy. He has some ideas about tech. He knows what it means, but he hasn't reached that sort of level of understanding coding. He does mostly sales, operations, like external. talking to people. Uh, that and myself, I can code a bit. We basically sort of outsource the project, not all of
Mm-hmm.
it, like the development of
Mm-hmm.
it, but I did some coding as well. I guess I could take some credit for that.
Yeah, well, at least
Um,
by coding a little bit, it makes it easier for you to communicate with the guys you are paying to really build it, right? Because if you know nothing about coding, it's difficult, right? Understand it.
sure, sure.
Um, and would you mind if I ask how you are outsourcing it? Is like a specific service you hire? Is like a company? Is like a person you know? How is the process?
We try to go for companies first, but I described the project to them. They said, "How quite ambitious to have some funding." I said, "No," and they talked about development, gave us some, I don't know, some Excel with like hours total, and when we saw the total, it was like no go. It was above 30K
Mhm.
for about 4 months of development, but we managed to go for freelancers, and it worked quite well.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
And did you kind of got familiar with one specific freelancer, or you change eventually? Like you, this one is like a little portion, and then you hire someone else.
We switched between
Hmm.
freelancers. Some were ineffective, but you learn. You don't know what you don't know.
Hmm.
You learn from mistakes. So
Yeah,
yeah, we changed them.
definitely. And when you say I code a bit, uh, well, I did check your code on GitHub, which is your how do you call that plugin, right? For CycoPay.
Yeah, it's integration for the shopping cart called WooCommerce, WordPress
All right.
WooCommerce.
Yeah. So there is like a big portion, some portion of it developed on JavaScript, and and there was another language that I don't remember. PHP.
PHP.
That's correct. Yeah. Um, what do you like? I mean, what do you like to if when you are doing yourself anything? What do you use? Like, what are you familiar with, or what do you like more?
I prefer, I would say, PHP and JavaScript. Yeah,
So PHP is a web language, right? It's like more for web creating like backends and things like that. Is that correct or not?
sure, you could call it like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not very modern, right? It's not something that like a lot of people use nowadays, is it? Or am I wrong here?
No, it's not that modern. Well, it depends what you look
Mm-hmm.
for. Backend, I would say go for JavaScript or Node.js, something like that.
Uh-huh.
Express, find a stack that works for you. But when it comes to, I don't know, front end development, I would say there are some parts that will work in PHP for like older websites. But for WooCommerce, it worked, so I don't
All
complain.
right. Are you familiar with any other language? Anything you like besides JavaScript and PHP?
Well, I like the name of um, I forgot. Oh,
Oh,
Ruby. Sorry,
Ruby.
I like the name of Ruby. Yeah.
Uh, I actually heard about
And
Ruby from a guest that I had here a few weeks ago, and he was saying how he likes Ruby and why. Because he described it as a very descriptive language and easy to understand, very well designed. So I get the point. You mentioned Vlad is doing the sales and everything. Is he same age as you? Same thing?
yeah, 16.
All right. And he's doing most of the sales pitch and calls, or you are also participating on that?
Well, there are times when there's need for technical explanation.
Mm-hmm.
He does most of the talk to users. However, there are times when I have to to reach out to users or talk to them
Hmm.
if they have like even our own users that they onboard with us, the businesses. I prefer to talk to them directly. For example, if they find a bug, I see that message and I fix it right away. I
Hmm.
think that's a pretty good combination.
You just mentioned the bug. Um, do you have a specific process to keep track or like a communication channel? Something you can share with the community?
Yeah. So on our dashboard, we actually have a button called Chat with us on Slack, and when they click it, they just get redirected to Slack. And we also have a widget in the top of the screen. Actually, no, in the middle, in the right of the screen, called feedback or something like that.
Hmm.
So when I have something to report, they just go in there. Um, Vladimir puts that on Trello. I see that and I fix it, and yeah,
All right. So Slack or Trello. Um, Again, for people who may not know the names, Slack is like a communications, like a chat thing. Trello is more like an organization with cards, and you can write this. Um, I believe that's it. You can organize like in project, in columns, and there are cards that you can organize things. So it's very common for project organization, right?
sure.
Right. Is there something you remember or you can think about that actually uh, wakes you up at night, like something that gives you energy to keep going, that pumps you up during the day, related to CycoPay? Anything that you
Transactions and bugs.
transaction bucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. And you did mention like some iteration that you need to do, that you need to shut down your project a little bit mid-April, right?
Yep.
Um, it was like something very serious that you needed to really restart your project, or that was more like a fix that needed to be taken care of?
It was something that um, we're built on a processor that closed us. It starts with S and ends with with Stripe. If maybe you could guess it. They shut us down, and we found a different processor, and it took some time to develop that as well, but it worked in the end. That was one of the iterations.
Yeah. When you say processor, wh- what are you talking about specific? That's the company that manages the financial transaction, which in this case Stripe or a competitor, right?
Yeah.
All right. Anything you thought when you started your company, like something you thought would be like this way and turned out to be like completely the opposite? Any, like, I used to call it expectations versus reality. Is there anything you can think about to share?
Let me think about it. I guess I didn't know that it's that exhausting to make a startup.
Uh-huh.
Like with my previous businesses, I wasn't like putting that much pressure on myself. Like I have to make it, I have to make it. It was sort of I have free time, so why not do it? But now, like even if you succeed or not, you're still exhausted. It's just on one side you have a financial reward, but I didn't know that. Um, yeah, I would say don't take everything for granted. Yeah, stuff can change right away. Um, so be ready to change. Um, Problems show up out of nowhere. They always do.
Mhm.
Keep moving over those obstacles no matter what. I would say that.
Yeah, well, that sounds very wise. I like it. Um, and you, I when I start this conversation, I usually say uh, you know, early stage entrepreneurs or early stage founders, we, and I say we is because I'm a startup founder myself, uh, we are ignored a lot. Like sometimes, like a lot of people that at some point tell you, "Oh, it's amazing. I'll help you somehow." When you need the help, they actually are too busy or they just ignored you totally. Or even customers, like customers may look at you, "Oh, I don't know the name of your company, so I don't care. I don't want to try it." Um, are you, do you have the same feeling? Do you go through the same thing?
Um, it was like that for the first customer. I would say they weren't really thinking that this is a reliable service. So they were asking for a bit for feedback from whoever was
Hmm.
using CycoPay. Like, is there someone who's using it or something like
Hmm.
that? We said no. It was the beginning, of
Hmm.
course, and yeah, they weren't really hyped to try
Hmm.
it. I would say that. Sure, there are times when I ask for help when they don't help, but just move forward.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, well, I know how it feels. And well, you have customers now. And you also mentioned that at some point people ask you if you have investments or not, like for the companies that were building or the outsourcing companies you were trying to hire. Are you bootstrapping right now? Are you running it on your own cash? Are you kind of self-sufficient already? Like the money you get is like enough to keep you guys going?
Yeah, so mostly it was because because of these businesses we saved up money, and this is sort of the piggy bank
Hmm.
that's bootstrapping CyclePay. Yeah. Um, and I guess some transactions keep us going. It isn't like in the millions or hundreds of thousands, but it works.
Uh,
Um,
it does. It can keep you. And you, are you living like by yourself now? You live your family? What is your situation?
not yet by
Uh-huh.
myself. Uh, with my family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Well,
I guess that
that
helps a
helps.
bit.
Yeah, that helps. So that keeps you, you know, you don't need to raise money, like cheap money, right? You need to, you can grow a little bit before you can think about raising um, any money. Well, talking about money, let me ask you something. I I've noticed Y Combinator started sending the letters saying if they will invite people to interviews or not. We met on Startup School, and I believe did you sign up for the summer batch?
Yeah, so yeah, we met on Startup
Mm-hmm.
School. Um, so Startup School is sort of a online school for
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. It's like they're giving very good advice for startups. Yeah, I did apply for YC. It was on 15th of May. The deadline was on 19th, if I'm not
Oh, I
wrong.
see. Uh-huh.
And I haven't got any response so far,
All right.
and I guess I'm not getting any.
Yeah, you may be
Yeah,
on the end of the list because you submitted a little later. Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, you should receive on the next few weeks. Um,
or years.
well, let's hope for the best. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hear about CyclePay and see how it moves forward and grows. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of potential. Like you have customers already, so it's only keep going now and keep adjusting and implementing and improving. And yeah, that's great. Let me challenge you a little bit here. Uh, you are probably familiar with the term mom test, right?
Ethereum
Mom
mom?
test. Have you heard about the mom test? No?
No. What is mom test?
Well, the mom test is how they call, uh, like when you are pitching your startup, you need to make it easy as you can explain to your mom, or to your uh, family, even if they are not technical, if they don't understand the business, you need to come up with a good explanation for your mom. That's what they call the mom test, something you can explain
Hmm.
to your mom,
Hmm.
and she would
Yeah.
understand. But I want to go a little further. I'm your old uncle, um,
Mm.
and I refuse to have a cell phone, and I have never touched a computer. How would you explain CycoPay?
Does the uncle know what a card
A
is?
card, yes, yeah, yeah. He doesn't like it, but he does have a credit card, like on his
Okay.
pocket eventually for, to take money from the ATM. Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, uncle, when you go to the store, you can pay with cash or cards, right? You can also do that in the internet as well. It's crazy. I know it's like magic. It takes like 2 seconds to confirm that's it. Well, CycoPay is basically allowing that to happen for businesses in the beginning of the journey. And everything tied to tax, accounting, we do that too. So you don't have to worry about paying accountants or keeping track of tax. Does that work?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, I would probably know what a tax is and that I need to report taxes. So yeah, I think that worked. Thank you.
Sure, Uncle. Anytime.
All right. There is a question that I usually do for the guests, and I'm excited to do this question to repeat this question to you today because uh, you are super young, and and you are like a smart guy, and I usually ask people if they think that a person um, will ever feel like they have made it, like I have this dream, like this business or these targets in life. When I do it, I feel like I'm accomplished and I'm done. um, and I'm looking forward to hear what you as a very young guy has to say about it. Like, do people ever think or will ever think that they have made it, they have accomplished, and they are done? Would you think like that? Like, if CyclePay works perfectly, goes well, do you think like, oh, that's it? I'm 20 now and I'm done. I don't need to do anything anymore.
Um, well, I believe that we as people have this psychological need to feel productive, to feel appreciated. Um, I don't know how to define that. Uh, Feeling accomplished forever. I don't believe at the current stage that that's possible. Maybe if you're a monk somewhere in the mountains and you left everything tied to material things um, alone and you just in frequency of the universe, maybe that
Mhm.
works. However, for I would say people in the business area, um, well, okay, I'm going to talk for myself. I don't believe that even if this works out, will set me sort of have satisfaction forever. I think that even if this works by magic or by hard work or whatever, will bring me to a point of financial freedom. I don't believe that that will be the end of it. I will need to do something to feel productive, feel efficient. Um, yeah, to build more things, I guess.
That's great. Like it. Excellent. And I have another philosophical question. Again, I know you are very young. Not sure if you had the chance to think about it. What is your? Do you have a mission, like a personal mission, not talking about CycoPay anymore. Do you have like a personal mission, something you think, oh, I would like to do this or do that, something you believe?
Well, I've learned something today. I was actually asking someone, what's the meaning of life? I was having this existential
Yeah.
crisis. Like, what's the meaning of life? You wake up, you build something. If it's all about solving problems, like, what's it all for? And he said, be the best, I could say. He said that, and I would say that I could relate to that.
Hmm.
Um, I would say that be the best, build, be the
Hmm.
best. Um, even even if that doesn't work,
Hmm.
it still brings you somewhere.
Hmm.
Yeah. So like it was this saying like shoot for the moon or aim for the moon or end up for the
Yeah.
stars, something like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty
Yeah,
good
that sounds
for this
great.
question.
I would add something actually, like I like this point of view. I would just add, be the best version of yourself, because realistically we can be very, very good at a lot of stuff, but it's impossible to be the best at everything, right? um, so being the best versions of ourselves that we decide to do, like whether professionally or like a goal like sports or anything, family. um, so yeah, just be the best version of yourself. That's great. I like it. Excellent. Um, so we are crossing like a 40 minutes now. Is 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 that like any topic, anything you would like to discuss that we have not talked about yet? Is there anything you came and thought about? I would like to talk about it, and I have not asked you.
Yeah, I'll have a question.
Sure.
I have to
Mhm.
actually. Um, if I'm not gonna forget the second one, maybe. The first one is what's about the Silicon Valley portray on the wall?
Do you want to do the second one, and then I'll go for both at the same time?
Second one. Oh yeah. Why did you start like everything? Business or founding thing, everything.
All right. Um, so here's the thing. I moved to the Silicon Valley area um, back in 2015. I was a senior engineer in a big company, and actually the two answers will kind of match at some point. Uh, so I moved here back in 2015. I was a senior engineer for a big corporation. I was working for the corporation for over 5 years when I moved here. Um, and then I worked for this big corporation, which is called Bosch. Being from Europe, you probably know this name, the German company called Bosch,
How do you spell it?
Bosch, Robert Bosch company. No,
Doesn't ring a
oh
bell for
really?
now.
They do a lot of stuff. They do car parts for cars. They do like drills. They do things for gardening. They do refrigerators and stove and microwave oven and dishwashers. But I used to work on the industrial automation area, because they also have an industrial automation that they build like parts for like a high motion control parts. That's what I used to do. I'm a former motion controls engineer. I used to build like robots and high speed machines and things like that. So they are a German company. I was working for them in Brazil, where I'm from, and then I moved here 5 years later, and then I worked for another 5 years. But I was getting tired, from the entire thing. Like the industry is very tiring, the methods and how things work. I was getting tired, and I felt like I needed to try something new. And the Silicon Valley to me, it actually worked as a inspiration because I'm physically closer to everything, right? I can drive like 40 minutes. I'm at Google, at Facebook, at Apple. So I have access to those. I have access, physical access to, to where Y Combinator is. I've been to Y Combinator like 2 or 3 times physically. I didn't attend. I attended startup school. I wasn't part of Y Combinator, unfortunately. Not yet, at least. Um, but since the pandemic situation, like being here, physically here, or being Moldova, or being back in the South America where I'm from, I don't think that's. I think it's coming back now. Things are started to happen again, uh, but it doesn't make much difference right now, or like in the last 2 years at least, to be here physically or to be where you are, because everything just went online, correct? Uh, but it was an inspiration because when you breathe this, this startup energy. Everywhere you go, you see things. It's like, oh, Netflix is here, Twitter is right there, LinkedIn is right here, Microsoft is there, and Pinterest. And so everything that we hear and we talk about and we use nowadays is here. So it works as an inspiration. So that was your first question, right? It's like, what is about the Silicon Valley? Eh, That's correct, right?
Yeah, I actually asked about the Silicon Valley portray. How did it end up there
Oh, this
on the
this
fall?
here? Oh,
Yeah,
all right. uh, sorry for that.
but that works.
Uh,
That
well,
works.
it was a calendar, to say the truth. It was
Oh,
a big calendar, like a giant calendar. Um, and I actually found, believe it or not, my sister was here. That's like a personal question. My sister was here in the US with me, she spent like 2 months with me, and she found the frames uh, on a garbage. They were they were both in plastic, wrapped in plastic, brand new. And she found it. She was like walking by, and she looked at it and she said, "Oh, it's brand new. I'll take it home." And in fact, it stayed like on my storage like for probably 6 months. And then I had this calendar that I mentioned, and then I looked to the calendar. I saw Silicon Valley. I got this calendar on some trade show or something that I went as a industrial automation engineer, and then I measured it. It was just perfect. It just the frame, like I kind of I folded in two, and I saw that it just fit perfectly, and then I just cut it and then I framed it. So it used to be a calendar, and all these little things that you see, those are companies' name. You see, like little things that you can actually see, but those are
yeah.
companies' name. You see, like Facebook, Apple, all the companies like Netflix, they are all there. Oracle. So it's just displayed on the map where they are located. And that's how it ended up. And actually, it's been here. Maybe people that watch us will think that I put it there just because of this conversation or the previous ones, but it's actually been there for a few years. Um, it's just a coincidence that it just is right behind me when when I'm talking to my guests now on the startup school
It's
gym.
all destiny.
Yeah, yeah, and I like it. It worked perfectly. And why did I start this? Is because again, I was this engineer. I was, tired, and then I left to create my own startup, which is called ZipStage. ZipStage is a social network where people can create music in collaboration with other people. So, like, I'm here in the US, you are in Europe. I could record something here. You can record something over. my content, and we can make music together. Um, but the process is hard. Um, like doing it, I just learned so much about so many things. Technically speaking, about the business, about being ignored, what I mentioned like several times in this show, in this conversation. And at some point, I was having like a conversation with my wife, and she kind of said, you don't talk to people anymore. You are just stuck in this bedroom all day long, coding and doing your stuff. You need to talk to people. You need to get out on the street. And then I thought, maybe I should talk to people. And then out of the blue, I just went to the forum on Startup School, right? And I I just posted. You saw the post that's how we are talking today, and I posted, and I thought maybe one person would come and want to talk to me, maybe two. But out of the blue, I had like 7, 8, 9 people that wanted to talk, and I say, oh, let's try it. And then 2 days later, I started with the first guest, um, and then it went well. And then next week, another one, and next week, another one. And you are my number 6 now. So
Oh, okay.
that's why I started it. And I have been organizing things, I have been adjusting and hoping that maybe people can learn something from our conversation and eventually, get inspired, or maybe this will help someone, other than you and I. Uh, and I'll keep doing it as long as people want to talk to me and want to share their experiences. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to learn. And yeah, that's why I started the Startup School Jam conversation. Was that your question, or did I got it? Did I get it wrong again?
No, it was actually, why did you start like zip
I'll
stage?
just say, all right. Do you have a few more minutes? I'll do this.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
try to make it shorter. The reason I started Zip Stage, that goes like a long time back. I used to have like a garage band when I was a teenager, your age.
Mhm.
Not You are not a teenager anymore, but like maybe I was like 14, 15. I used to have a garage band, and we had so much fun playing. That was amazing. And I still remember like those days. We just do like a jam, just start playing something. Nobody knew how to play anything. I was the singer. I still don't play anything. I was the singer. My friend would play guitar. Someone else would play drums. The sound was horrible, but we had fun. And since when I was 21, I moved from my town to another city to for college, and I never went back to my city. So I completely lost contact with music, and that was also in the back of my mind. It's like, oh, that was fun, like we need to do this. And when I moved here, Silicon Valley again, all this energy, and I was tired of my job. And then I just started putting things together. I said, oh, maybe that's a good thing to start. And that's when I started building ZipStage. But to me, it was a little harder because I used to be like a programmer for industrial machines, but being like a software developer for a cell phone or for a computer is a completely different universe. So it did take me a little longer than I expected. It was hard, but I did learn. I'm now a mobile developer, and I'm actually now learning a different language. I did Android native, which use
Mhm.
Kotlin, and now I'm studying Flutter, which is like a hybrid solution. You can design for iOS and Android, and also web and PCs as well at the same time in the same platform. So it's nice, and I'm having fun. Yeah, that's how I started Zip Stage. Well, sorry for the long, long story.
No, I love it. It's nice.
Well, thanks for asking. Uh, all right. Anything else you would like to discuss? Any topic you?
Mm, yeah. So you said like there's this energy of like startups, companies there in the Silicon Valley.
Hmm.
And I like to address this question, like, what do you think about funding rounds, seed rounds, Series A, Series B, and so on? For example, in my case, I was talking with this investment banker,
Hmm.
and I was asking her, like, we want to raise some funds in the future
Hmm.
quite soon. And she was like joking, like if you put all the keywords, so AI-based fintech powering Web3 blockchain technology,
Hmm.
something like that,
Hmm.
you'll get all the money. And like I was thinking, I was looking at these rounds of millions with crazy growth and stuff like that. And like, what do you think about that? What do you think about money in that sense of raising?
Yeah, well, there are two things actually, maybe more than two. Oh, the first thing is like some companies or some startups, they start too early to try to get money. They, oh, I have an idea, I need money, right? So it's not your case. It's definitely not your case. You are bootstrapping, you have customers, things are moving, and that's something that I learned in the hard side, the hard way. Uh, because I've been bootstrapping so far as well. I did a lot of I need to invest some money and everything. But as far as investors, I actually have like a he's like a mentor to me. He's an investor himself, um, and what can I tell you? They sometimes it's a little disappointing looking to the investment how things work is because there is like this thing happening right now, like, oh, a lot of people are putting money um, on the virtual uh, digital money. How's it called? Uh, like Bitcoin and
Yeah, Bitcoin and Ethereum, other
yes, how's the name, man? I lost it. Like not virtual money. It's like
Web3 money, blockchain, digital
yeah,
money,
yeah, whatever name those. I will remember soon in a few minutes.
cryptocurrency.
Yeah, cryptocurrency. That's the name. All right, that's it. So now they are pouring money on top of this cryptocurrency thing. So it, they kind of go on waves, and I feel like sometimes they just make they just go with the flow. Of course, there are like Y Combinator itself. You see, they have a lot of different. They do fund. They have a lot of different companies in different areas, but a lot of the investors, they go with the flow. It's like, oh, everybody's going here, and I'll go to everybody's going there. You can actually see that if you look to the story behind WeWork and how much money
Mm.
they got. And this investment bank from Japan, SoftBank, that gave them, a lot of money out of the blue, and just because they like the guy. Oh, you are crazy. Did you see the series called We Crashed? It's now on Apple.
I've heard about the series, but I just watched the story, like some interviews. I
Hmm.
know
Hmm.
what's it about.
Yeah, and there's actually a podcast with the same name. That's how the series was created. The podcast is free,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it's excellent. I haven't finished it. I'm over. I almost half of the episode I have heard. Um, but going back to that, I feel like sometimes they just go with the FOMO, like this fear of missing out. So if you are building a startup on the niche that they are looking at right now, you eventually just need to have an idea. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little frustrated with the entire process. They say you need to show that you are growing and you need to show that you are capable of building something, and they will look at you. But at the same time, I did create like ZipStage, for example, and I didn't know how to program. I learned it, I designed it, I developed it. I have a few users, not a ton of users, but I have a few users. The platform works well, it's available. and I still can't do it just because I'm not the kind of person, although I'm here talking to you online live, and it's actually also a way of me practicing this, communication things that it's not my strong side. Um, but I'm not a showman, I'll never be. It's like if I think it's correct or not, I'll tell you if I believe it's right or not. I won't pretend like, I'm the king of universe or this showman as the guy at WeWork used to be, or he still is, I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot, of course, there are different investors, different perspectives, but if the bulk of them, I believe, they are too much like going on the FOMO. It's like, oh, everybody's investing on crypto now. Let's do crypto. Everybody's investing on electric cars. Let's do electric cars. And you see this trend. I wish it was a little different. Of course, there are more professional ones, like, a Sequoia, Y Combinator. Some of them are very professionals. Anderson Horowitz, I think, is one of the good ones as well. Uh, but the book one, they just go with the trend. And but you are on the right path, you know. And I'll tell you, instead of if one thing that I believe, again, I'm not a successful, startup founder or anything at this point yet.
Me neither.
But what I can tell you is like you are on the right path. You have revenue, you have customers, you have a product that you created, whether by yourself or uh, outsourcing it a little bit, but you have all the right things to get investment. You just need to find the correct investor that will see you out of this trend. Oh, you are not on crypto, so I don't want it. You are not on electric cars, so I don't want it. Uh, but you are on the right track for sure. Yeah, and the best thing is that when you get investment, you can charge expensive money because you are growing. You can show, oh, last week I had like, or last month I had two users. Now I have four. It's 100% growth, right?
Yeah.
Next month maybe I have eight. It's another 100% growth. So that's what they want to see. They want to see growth, and you have it. You can have revenue. You know, that's it.
No, we'll see.
Right? Did I get it wrong again?
No, it was right. The third time is with a charm. Third time's a charm.
All right. um, any other question? Any other thing you would like to discuss? What is your perspective? Let me ask you back. What is your perspective about investors?
I think this is just a speculation at this point. From my perspective, from what I've understood, I've talked to some VCs. I've asked them for advice and pitched them CycoPay. They said they want to see growth, more growth.
Mhm.
And I reached a conclusion. So sort of, if you have like compounded growth, like even if like okay, huge growth, let's say, you could raise money like even if you're not going profitable.
Mhm.
Like look at Revolut, right? For example, I admire the CEO of Revolut
Mhm.
a lot. He was like describing that he was actually losing money, sort of for some
Mhm.
years, but because they had insane growth, they got this all crazy valuations and investments. So maybe if you have the right growth, some okay product, that would pretty much get you an investment. And maybe if you're nice as well, sure, that would probably help.
Yeah, well, that does help. You just remind me of a company that I heard recently, like a few days ago. It's called, I'm not sure if you're familiar. I think they are only on the US right now. They're called GoPuff.
No,
Uh,
not it.
GoPuff is a delivery company. They they pretty much do fast delivery. So
Mm,
they promise to deliver things at your house like 30 minutes. It's, if I'm not mistaken, to do like grocery stuff.
hmm
Um, but they are different than Instacart and others. They don't go to a Walmart to buy things and to deliver to you. They actually have their own inventory.
Hmm.
And they started by themselves. They bootstrapped for a long time. Um, and they had no plans to, if I understand correctly, they had no plans to go after investments or anything. But they were growing so fast that the investors started knocking on their doors and say, "Hey, I have money. Do you need it?"
Yeah.
And that's the best
Sure.
because you give the price, right? It's like, yeah, you can give me money. This is the price. So if you can do it, yeah, go for it. Instead of asking for money, you just do it as much as you can by yourself, bootstrap it, and eventually the money will come because investors want it. They want to see how their money can double or maybe make it like 20 times bigger than the investment. And they will go and will search and they will ask you for to allow them to give you money. That's how it works as well. You mentioned Revolut, um, and I'm sorry for the ignorance, but I have no idea what is it. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, it's so they're trying to be a global bank,
Mm,
and they've done pretty well so far.
mm,
It's basically an app. You have an app, you have a card, like you can open a bank account, can have a card in like
mm.
seconds or minutes. So you just have it's like a better bank in an app. That's pretty much it.
Interesting.
They offer like foreign exchange at sort of interbank rates,
Mm,
so like very cheap rates, and free trading, buying cryptocurrency, all of these
mm,
things. It's got a lot of features.
I see. They must be competitors from Wise, Money Wise or Wise Money.
Oh, they're much bigger
Much bigger,
than
really.
Wise.
Yeah.
Uh,
I never heard about them. Oh, thanks
yeah,
for
they're from UK.
yeah, it's a European. But are they kind of spreading around the world, or are they kind of concentrated in Europe right now?
Yeah, they're in the US now. Australia, Japan. It's like
Mm,
crazy locations.
mhm.
Lots of locations.
All right. Well, and talking about being a global company, it's not the case for me, but I'm glad to say that I had guests from the U.S. I had a guest from Nigeria in Africa. My last guest, although he lives in Amsterdam, he's Peruvian, and he was in Peru last week when we talked. And now I'm talking with you from Moldova in Europe, Eastern Europe, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm all over the world.
Sure.
You have already talked about Y Combinator a little bit. You kind of described it as helpful and things. Can you talk like little, maybe with a little more details? What is the Y Combinator Startup School in your words? I think we lost him. Hey, Maxim. Oh, what a pity. Hey, Max. Are you back?
Hi. Yeah. Are
Did
you
you hear my
back?
question?
No.
No, no problem. I asked you, you already mentioned it a little bit. What is Y Combinator, Y Startup School? Can you describe it in your kind of words? What is the Y Combinator Startup School for you?
Yeah, from a perspective, so Y Combinator is an accelerator, a great accelerator. I think the best accelerator in the world. We got thousands of applications yearly. Basically, if you're a startup, if a great you're growing, or have some sort of great future ahead of yourself and have some ambition, you could apply to them. If you get accepted, you get an interview, and if you pass that interview, you get invited to California. So you get very good advice. They've made very good investments in very well companies, so Stripe, Airbnb. Um, Deliveroo, I think, or DoorDash, something like that. They actually they don't know anything about your product, but they see the pattern. They know the pattern very well. They're from 2005, I think, and the fact that they already know the pattern of building a company, I think that helps a lot with their advice and all the founders there. I think, from my perspective, that being there, like having this energy of startups and everybody's working on something, I think that that's very helpful. So if you're trying
Excellent.
to build a company, that would be a good place to go for.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing. That was great. And how people can find you?
Have a LinkedIn, and that's pretty much it. And CycoPay.com. There's a live chat thing there, so you can contact me
All
there.
right. And
I believe.
his contacts LinkedIn account is on the description of this video here on YouTube. Uh, Max, it's such a pleasure learning and talking to you. Uh, I really appreciate you taking the time to speaking with me today from your Saturday. Thank you so much. I I learned a lot. I liked our conversation. I hope you will be able to take something out of this as well. And I hope we'll be in contact again and we'll be able to meet again soon.
Of course, thank you. Thank you for everything.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you. Bye bye.